Right now, there are more than 3 million electric vehicles on the road in the U.S., but it seems some owners are having a bit of buyer's regret. A new survey found that nearly half of EV drivers would like to actually switch back to those gas-powered cars.
So what's behind the change of heart, and what does it mean for the environmental policies that rely on more EV use?
EV owners are ditching their EVs and switching back to the gas cars. Now, I know you are asking yourself, why? And aren't EVs supposed to be the future? Well, the numbers speak the truth. A report from the EY Mobility Consumer Index shows that there's been a startling 14% drop in Americans who are planning to purchase an EV. See, this is a big trend unfolding before our eyes, and if you don't know the real reason, you might fall for it, especially with all the push that comes down on us, customers, to rely on EVs. So why is this happening? Well, we all know the dawn of the electric vehicle era was met with an electrifying surge of optimism. Promising a cleaner, greener future, EVs became symbols of ecological responsibility and technological advancement. Celebrities flaunted them, politicians endorsed them, and consumers, eager to embrace a sustainable lifestyle, flocked to dealerships. The world, it seemed, was on the cusp of an electric revolution. But now, a significant number of early adopters, those who once stood at the forefront of this automotive revolution, are now quietly slipping back into the driver's seats of their gasoline-powered counterparts. This unexpected exodus is caused by 5 main reasons, and the first one is, of course, range anxiety. A maze of anxiety and frustration. Ever heard of range anxiety? It's this nagging fear of getting stuck somewhere with a dead battery, and it's a constant worry for EV drivers everywhere. Why? Mostly because they don't feel confident about the availability and reliability of charging stations in their area. Thousands, if not more, are returning to traditional vehicles because of this issue. Remember that 14%? Yeah, it is mainly because of this, and it is not just the US market. Germany is experiencing the same thing, where orders for electric vehicles slumped by 50% year on year in 2024, while orders for internal combustion engine models increased by 11% during the same period. And it's not just those in rural areas feeling the heat. Even in California, a state known for having a more advanced EV infrastructure, range anxiety is still alive and kicking. In fact, a recent study revealed that around 1 in 5 charging attempts ends in failure. That's a tough pill to swallow for potential EV owners. It's clear that, despite a better setup in certain areas, there's still a significant amount of worry and doubt surrounding charging availability, which brings us to the term called charge anxiety. This new layered concern comes from worries about whether charging stations will actually work when you get there. Even with advancements in technology allowing EVs to drive further on a single charge, drivers are haunted by the thought of long waits at charging points, equipment malfunctions, or worse yet, finding stations already occupied because the stations don't match the need and demand. So let's talk about how these anxieties play out in the real world. Research in California has uncovered alarming details. Technical glitches, compatibility issues, and software failures lead to a staggering 20% failure rate for charging attempts. Talk about frustrating. This kind of experience can bring financial burdens too, as EV owners might have to hunt for alternative charging solutions or face extra costs from unexpected delays. And let me tell you, the distribution of charging stations is still lacking. Many EV drivers have to carefully plot their routes around available chargers, which can add unnecessary stress to what should be a simple journey. And we all know that home charging is often pitched as the ultimate convenient solution, but don't let that fool you. It comes with its own set of challenges. Many EV owners realize that charging overnight simply doesn't provide enough energy for their daily driving requirements. This reliance on public charging infrastructure turns critical, yet often becomes frustrating and costly. While level 2 chargers can speed things up at home, they also come with hefty installation costs that aren't feasible for everyone. That leaves many drivers still relying on public stations even though they know about the issues they may face there, as if charging issues were not enough. Cold climates present their own challenges for EV owners. Chillier temperatures can significantly hammer down battery performance and extend the time it takes to charge. Imagine the agony of hearing about instances where vehicles are left stranded at charging stations because of freezing conditions. You can almost feel the frustration yourself. It's a tough reminder of how traditional gasoline vehicles may still hold an advantage in more severe weather conditions compared to current EV technology. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let me explain. The hidden costs. Electric vehicles are often marketed as the eco-friendly and budget-savvy alternative to traditional gasoline cars. But when we dig deeper into the numbers and facts, a different story emerges. The financial realities behind owning an EV are often clouded with hidden costs and concerns that are too frequently overlooked in our rush to embrace electrification. This is the second reason people are switching back. And to truly understand why, let's kick things off by addressing a common misconception: the belief that driving an EV is inherently cheaper due to the lower electricity costs compared to gasoline. While this statement has some merit, mainly when talking about home charging, it gets a bit murkier when we factor in the sky-high prices that can come with public charging stations. Research points out a significant gap in electricity rates between those charging at home and those relying on public stations. Home charging lends itself to more stable and affordable electricity rates, which is great for budget-conscious EV owners. However, when you hit the road and turn to public charging, you might find that those charging stations can hit your wallet harder than expected. Some of them actually charge rates per kilowatt hour that can surpass the cost per mile of traditional gasoline. As if that weren't enough, many public charging operators employ strategies that further eat into the supposed savings from going electric. A prime example is the idle fees, charges for the time your vehicle occupies a charging spot after it has finished charging. While the intention behind these fees is to promote quicker turnaround times, they can surprise EV owners with unexpected expenses that add up in no time. Just ask the Australian blogger who owns a Tesla, and despite the common narrative that electric vehicles offer big savings, she discovered that her actual savings on fuel costs over an entire year amounted to just 524 Australian dollars, about 355 US dollars. Breaking that down means she saved less than $30 per month, which is quite disappointing compared to the impressive financial benefits often advertised. But the rabbit hole goes deeper than that. We are just scratching the surface. Depreciation. Now, let's talk about another financial pitfall: the rapid depreciation rates associated with electric vehicles. There's a reason EVs have earned the label champions of depreciation, and it's not a good thing. The sources indicate that these vehicles depreciate faster than your average gasoline car, creating significant concerns for their owners. To put it into perspective, EVs initially saw alarming depreciation rates, with an average drop of 49% over 5 years compared to just 38% for gasoline-powered vehicles. The situation has only deteriorated due to aggressive pricing wars and heavy discounts offered by EV manufacturers. While these discounts may look appealing to new buyers, they've wreaked havoc on the resale values for those who jumped on the electric bandwagon early. A striking example is the Tesla Model 3, which has seen its resale values plummet in recent months. Reports indicate that a 2021 Model 3, originally priced at around $50,000, is now being resold for as low as $30,000, a staggering $20,000 loss in value within just a couple of years. This rapid depreciation is further exacerbated by the influx of newer models and the availability of discounted inventory from Tesla itself. For early adopters who anticipated that their investment would maintain its value, this sharp decline serves as a harsh reminder of the volatility in the EV market and the financial risks involved in purchasing these vehicles. But hold on for a sec, these financial challenges don't only affect individual owners, they trickle down to the car manufacturers as well. The production of electric vehicles remains a pricey endeavor, leading to financial losses that many car companies are grappling with. Take Ford Motor Company as a notable example of the strain that EV production places on manufacturers. Reports indicate that Ford faces significant losses on every F-150 Lightning sold, with estimates suggesting they lose around $36,000 per vehicle. These staggering losses accumulate, costing the company billions annually, and the poor resale value of electric vehicles is affecting other sectors too, like rental car companies. Hertz has made headlines by removing 20,000 electric vehicles from its fleet, citing their low residual value. This move underscores how the rapid depreciation of EVs creates challenges not just for owners, but for businesses relying on these vehicles as well. It raises a crucial question: how can car companies maintain profitability in the EV sector while trying to compete on prices? And most importantly, as a customer, how can you rely on a company that loses money as a business model? Well, you shouldn't. Losing profit also brings a mixed bag of concerns for you as a customer, which brings us to the third reason people are abandoning the EV bandwagon: consistency and reality check. While these EV companies are struggling, their resources and the operational quality is put in jeopardy, and recent investigations have uncovered some eye-opening differences between what manufacturers proudly claim about EVs and what actual owners are experiencing out on the road. This reality check correlates to some significant gaps in both the range and the reliability of these vehicles, urging us to reconsider those optimistic stories that surround electric vehicle marketing. Let's start by talking about real-world range versus claimed range, a difference that's hard to ignore. Sure, car manufacturers like to toss around impressive numbers when it comes to the distance their electric vehicles can go on a single charge, but many EV owners aren't so convinced. In fact, a study by Consumer Reports revealed that about half of the electric vehicles tested often fell short of their EPA estimated driving ranges by a staggering 50 miles, or even more in some cases. Like we said earlier, cold weather is a major player in this drama. Research shows that when temperatures dip, electric vehicle range can take a nosedive, experiencing reductions by up to 25%. The batteries just don't perform as effectively in frigid conditions. But it doesn't stop there. How you drive plays a massive role as well. If you're leaning into aggressive acceleration or whizzing along at high speeds, you could be cutting your EV's range short, especially on the highway, where constant high speeds make it tough to take advantage of regenerative braking. And let's not forget about the impact of heavy hauling, but don't even get me started on electric trucks, because they are often marketed for their power and incredible capabilities. But the reality is that many of them fall short right where you'd expect them to shine. Take the Ford F-150 Lightning as an example. When loaded, the range can drop dramatically, throwing a wrench into the plans of those who rely on heavy-duty towing. This situation definitely raises questions about whether these electric trucks can truly meet the expectations and demands of traditional truck owners. But there's more to the range story. Charging challenges add another layer of complexity. Fast chargers are fantastic for revving up the battery power until you hit about 80% capacity, after which the charging speed frustratingly slows down dramatically. This slowdown can stretch your charging times, making it practically unfeasible for many drivers to fully charge their vehicles regularly. As a result, the usable range plummets, shining a spotlight on the urgent need for more efficient charging solutions for electric vehicles. However, now let's really dive into another crucial aspect that is affected by this lack of consistency: reliability. The common narrative that electric vehicles are far more reliable than traditional internal combustion engine vehicles thanks to fewer moving parts might not be the whole truth. Recent surveys suggest that in reality, electric vehicles are actually 80% more prone to experiencing issues compared to their gasoline-powered counterparts. Reports from EV owners frequently detail issues such as software glitches, battery-related problems, and frustrating build quality issues. Software glitches have emerged as an all-too-common bane among EV users, requiring them to make trips back to the dealership for repairs more often than they'd like. Battery issues, including degradation and malfunctions, have raised significant concerns regarding the longevity and reliability of these crucial components. Plus, certain models have come under fire for their less than stellar build quality, leading to pesky rattles, annoying squeaks, and what feels like premature wear and tear. The Chevy Blazer EV stands out as a prime example, reflecting the reliability struggles faced by electric vehicles today. Numerous owners have reported various problems, including some downright alarming complete failures soon after purchasing the vehicle. In fact, one owner faced a breakdown just 28 hours after driving it off the lot. On top of that, repair times can stretch painfully long. Some owners have found themselves waiting weeks or even months for necessary fixes. One Blazer owner shared that their vehicle spent 3 weeks at the dealership before they were told that repairs would take even longer. Not to mention, automotive journalists have flagged numerous faults during their reviews of the Chevy Blazer EV, stirring up serious questions about the overall quality of this vehicle. But you see, these EV makers simply don't care, and that is the fourth reason. Let's dissect it together, because this is a huge issue. Intrusive tech. You know what's fascinating about electric vehicles? They come packed with some seriously advanced tech that makes them feel like something straight out of a science fiction movie. However, there's a catch. All that sophistication can end up costing consumers more than they bargained for. Many EV manufacturers create their vehicles in such a way that if something goes wrong or needs a little maintenance, you're pretty much stuck going to their authorized service centers. It's like being locked in a tech-savvy prison. This proprietary model doesn't just limit your options, it also makes you totally reliant on the manufacturer's manufacturer for repairs. Imagine this, you need a simple battery cell replacement or even just a software fix. In a perfect world, an independent mechanic could take care of that for you in no time flat. But here's the kicker, manufacturers tend to hold back on the essential parts and software tools that would allow outside mechanics to help you out. So what happens? You're left with no choice but to go back to the dealership. This whole strategy can really throw a wrench in the works for consumers for a couple of reasons. First off, it severely limits your choices. This means that you could end up shelling out a fortune for repairs that could be done much more affordably if you had other options. And let's face it, no one wants that. Because of this, the overall expense of owning an EV can skyrocket, which totally undermines the initial attraction of electric vehicles being cost efficient in the long run. And the worst part is that these rising repair costs are shaking up the insurance game for everyone who owns an EV. As these tech-filled machines get even more advanced, the price tag for fixing them is soaring. It's a bit of a roller coaster. Did you know that on average, repairing an EV costs about 29% more than fixing a traditional gasoline car? And if that's not enough to raise your eyebrows, some studies suggest that repair times can balloon to nearly double what it takes for internal combustion engine vehicles. Imagine waiting around for your car to get fixed, only to find out you're without your wheels for far longer than you'd hoped. That kind of inconvenience can be a real pain, not to mention the frustration it causes. Nobody wants to lose their independence simply because their car is stuck at the shop. This complexity in repairs is more than just an inconvenience. It's changing how insurance companies operate. When accidents happen, even minor ones, you might think no biggie, just a small fix, right? But that's where the surprise kicks in. Insurers are often opting to total vehicles instead of repairing them, and that's driving up your costs even more. It's wild to think that what seems like a quick fix could suddenly lead to a write-off. Now let's talk numbers, because who doesn't love a good statistic? With these increased repair expenses, insurance premiums for EV owners are on the rise. On average, you're looking at about $357 a month for insurance if you own an EV. Compare that to the $248 that folks with gasoline cars pay, and it's clear there's a serious difference. This gap isn't just about those high repair bills. It's also about the fact that there are fewer qualified technicians available who know how to work on EVs, and all of them are cramped in their dealerships. That means when something needs fixing, you could find yourself stuck waiting much longer for repairs to be completed. All of this portrays a scenario where consumers are ending up spending more not just on repairs, but also on their monthly insurance premiums. So you might wonder, does owning an electric vehicle still make financial sense if the costs keep climbing? Are the benefits of going electric really overshadowed by the financial realities of repair and insurance costs? But I know that people are still going to ask, what about the carbon footprint, right? And that is an important question. So let's break it down. When EVs are designed with such limited options for repair, it often results in a scenario where even the tiniest hiccup can lead to pricey replacements of entire components instead of just addressing the trivial issue, right? So with all that, there's an added burden of contributing to the growing problem of electronic waste. This reality flips the script on the environmental benefits that electric vehicles are supposed to champion. With all this in mind, manufacturers putting profits before accessibility and sustainability may be playing a dangerous game. They could end up pushing away their customers and wreaking havoc on the long-term prospects of electric vehicles as a genuinely eco-friendly substitute for traditional gasoline-powered cars. But again, we are just scratching the surface. You see, EVs do help us fight environmental issues, but they also have their own problems. Which brings me to the last and final reason: EVs versus the environment. Electric vehicles, often celebrated as the knight in shining armor of eco-friendly transportation, are loved for their ability to significantly lower greenhouse gas emissions and foster a cleaner, healthier planet. However, when you dig a little deeper, the truth about the environmental benefits of EVs isn't as straightforward as it seems. The reality is that the carbon footprint associated with the production of electric vehicles, especially concerning their batteries, is quite considerable and calls for a thoughtful examination. Let's talk about the carbon conundrum, the hidden emissions tied to the production of electric vehicles. It's important to realize that creating an electric vehicle, particularly its battery, contributes significantly to overall carbon emissions. In fact, it's estimated that manufacturing a single EV can lead to 40% to 60% of its total life cycle emissions, solely from the battery production process. This shocking statistic serves as a reminder that understanding what it truly means to go green is more complicated than it appears. And when we dive even deeper into the environmental discussion around electric vehicles, it's hard hard to ignore the critical role of rare earth elements. These essential components for EV batteries, including lithium, cobalt, and nickel, bring some hefty environmental baggage along with their benefits. Let's unpack this a bit and see why extracting and processing these resources can be such a big deal for our planet. First up, deforestation is a major player in the mining game. Vast swathes of land are bulldozed to make room for mining operations, leading to serious habitat destruction. Imagine the impact on wildlife. When forests vanish, so does the biodiversity that thrives there, and that can have a domino effect on entire ecosystems. See, mining infrastructure disrupts natural environments, and as roads, buildings, and equipment invade these spaces, the wildlife that once thrived there faces serious challenges. This disruption can lead to declining animal populations, which is just heartbreaking. Next, we have the issue of water pollution. Mining often involves toxic chemicals that can leak into local water supplies during extraction processes. This contamination poses a real danger to not just aquatic life, but also to human health. No one wants to consume tainted water, right? It's a massive environmental and health concern that can't be taken lightly. And what about greenhouse gas emissions? The energy-intensive methods used for extracting and refining these materials typically rely on fossil fuels. That means we're inadvertently adding to the overall carbon emissions that are warming our planet. To put that into perspective, manufacturing a standard lithium-ion battery can release anywhere from 2.5 to a whopping 16 metric tons of carbon dioxide. That's a significant carbon footprint, and it often surprises people to learn that the initial impact of an electric vehicle can end up being up to 80% higher than that of a similarly sized gasoline-powered car when you consider the entire manufacturing process. Moving right along, we can't ignore the long journey toward balancing those emissions. Sure, electric vehicles can help lower emissions throughout their lifespan, but here's the twist. How those cars are charged plays a huge role in their environmental impact. If the electricity used for charging comes mainly from coal or other fossil fuels, the whole sustainability argument starts to weaken. Take India, for example. A jaw-dropping 61% of the electricity there comes from thermal sources, predominantly coal. This reliance on non-renewable energy sources can significantly undermine the claims of sustainability that electric vehicles often pitch. This is so bad, especially in regions where coal is king. Studies suggest that it could take these fancy EVs over 5 years to even reach carbon parity with traditional internal combustion engines. That's a long time for a car to catch up. So while electric cars may seem like the answer to our environmental prayers, it's clear that there's a lot more to consider in this complex equation. What's the real cost of going electric, and how does it stack up against traditional vehicles in different parts of the world? It's a thought-provoking question for anyone thinking about making the switch. Plus, imagine switching to EVs despite all the other issues just because you thought they were good for the environment. All of that hustle and struggle was in vain. It is super frustrating, to say the least. But what's your thoughts on this? Let's know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.